keep him backstage. B-man.
So I think it's up to us to explain why we don't have to explain, but why have you kidnapped Dr. Brian and hidden him?
Because there are things that he knows that if certain people knew, it could really create a problem for me and my family and just a lot of South Florida in general. So I felt like the best thing I could do for the safety of me and my neighbors was to keep him safe.
Good idea.
Right.
Good idea.
Right.
Yeah. He plays a lot of
always thinking. I'm always thinking. All
the guitar solo stuff that he plays a lot. I mean, it's all very talented stuff, but boy, oh boy, it's just it's enough to make a drummer angry.
Indeed.
Indeed. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Casually Serious Podcast. We are discussing the worst movie sequels ever today. Ever.
Part two.
Ever. We're talking back to the very beginning of film. No, we're not. We're not going that far back. We may go as far back as maybe like 1970, but we're not going any. We don't have time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Let's roll. So we obviously have Hash Brown in the building. What is up, Hash Brown? How you doing, man?
What's going on, team? Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Good to see you, Ken, man, and Bob.
What's up, Hash Brown?
Always a good time. Always a good time, man. You guys been writing up a list, or what you guys been doing? You guys been thinking about this a lot?
So here's the deal. What I tried not to do was I tried not to go to the internet and like scour and come up with these, because there's, God knows, there's at least 5 that we've all seen that suck. So we shouldn't have to look at the internet unless I maybe peeked at a list specifically because I wanted to make sure that the movie I was talking about was the movie I was talking about. But there were also some other ones on that list as I scrolled through it. I was like, nah, I'm not that deep. Who cares about Speed 2? Really? Are you that mad? You know, like there's a few that just didn't matter in my cinematic history. But before we start rolling, I want to say what's up to everybody in Build Different Group. People that are checking us out at the Casually Serious Podcast on Facebook, as well as the Casually Serious Podcast out there on YouTube. Thank you so much for doing that. I appreciate it. We've got somebody knocking on the back door. Do we want to? Do you want to get let this guy in or?
Hello. Hey, you want to say hi?
Yeah.
All right, man. Hey. So I can't put him on camera because of where he's kind of got just like a limited area. So you could hear him. It really is.
Who do we have? We have Dr. Brian. Or do we? Do we?
No. Like I said, there is no camera for this. I tried to tell these people. I don't know why they don't.
I was going to say, I see a little.
I see something.
You might get a little
that's
shadow.
Terrifying. We're not doing that. We're not doing that.
Listen, our whereabouts are still unknown. We need to keep it that way. So just relax. What? Get back. God. Oof.
Tammy is posing the question.
Anyway,
what is the very first movie sequel? If anybody's got the big old G button in their hand, click Google and find that out. That's actually pretty interesting stuff.
The very first sequel? Well, that is an interesting question. Wish we knew stuff. Or we could be those kind of people that just say things like we know it. Like
it's got to be Gone with the Wind Part 2, dude. I would say.
Is that what it's got to be?
What else would it be?
The Bible Part 2. Oh wait, that's just the New Testament. No, the New Testament. That's the new. That's part 2. Is the New Testament?
Yeah, the Testament does have a new album coming out.
Right. So there you go.
If we're gonna go early,
who Shirley
in our lives, then it's got to be. Let's go with a movie like Grease. Right. The first Grease was amazing, but then we've got Grease 2. With songs like Cool Rider.
Oh, look at this. We have a graphic for it. It's so bad we have a graphic for it. That means
it was actually on my list, and it was on my list for exactly what Dr. Brian is saying back there. I was actually a fan of the original Grease. And when I think about it and think about all the soundtrack, I kind of wonder to myself, why? But then I realized I was really kind of into, as a young person, really digging sort of that the Sha-na-nas and all of that stuff that was going on at the time. And so there was something about that throwback stuff that I really kind of dug. And I don't know. I guess that was the reason why I like Grease. But at the same time, yeah, I definitely dug that. And it made my list because this movie was so friggin' horrible. And it also made my list because my wife loves it.
Part 2?
She loves part 2?
Loves it. And I think you will find...
She loves part 2?
We're gonna go to the comment section on this, but I think you will find, if there were any men and women in the same room that like Grease, it's only the women.
What man's gonna even admit to that? What a man's gonna admit
go on to
like
say
Grease?
that they didn't, that they did like part 2, because
But there's no Travolta.
Yeah,
I mean, if there's no
not
Travolta,
even Olivia Newton-John either.
There's no Grease.
There's no Grease,
right? That's
with
like,
no Travolta.
it's not Grease anymore.
It's not greasy.
It's another movie, loosely, regarded to the first one, but that's not Grease too. There's no Travolta. It's over.
I mean,
yeah.
Jordana brings up a great point. Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah, she wanted to be Michelle Pfeiffer, and look,
Michelle Pfeiffer.
It doesn't matter. I know Michelle Pfeiffer's hot, but she's not Olivia Newton-John.
Look at her.
Like,
I mean,
you can look her butt.
Look who we have over there on the far right of this picture right there. Isn't that freaking Shooter McGavin? I mean, I have no idea.
That guy. You ate
no idea.
Shit for breakfast, man.
You eat piece of shit for breakfast. Yeah, exactly, man. So I'm glad Dr. Bryant brought that up, because that was actually one of the first ones on my list that I just kind of wanted to get out there. It was just, I don't know, there's something about it. I'm having an odd bleed through with my background, so I'm going back to my original terrifying background.
I'm going to tell you guys right now, I'm really glad that you guys got Grease 2 out of the way and you guys got your little greasy hands off of it, because that movie wasn't even reason. That is, the first one was terrible and the second one was.
See, that's it. He's a Grease hater.
That's all right. I get it.
Which is okay.
I
get it. I know plenty of people who dislike the movie as well.
People skip school to go watch Grease. Let's go watch Grease.
I don't know about that.
Like, no,
I like the movie. But
I don't know what you're talking about.
Let's skip school and watch Grease, man. No,
if we're skipping school, anyone who is in the squares, including the one who's in the room with the square, who even skipped school, was not watching Grease. I guarantee
that's not
you
what everybody was
right.
going out to go do.
Who does that anyway? Who skips
people
really watch any
skip
movie?
school.
I mean, maybe go to the movies, but I don't know. That's weird. That's odd. You do odd things.
Jordana says she can sing the whole soundtrack. I can
Let's
vouch
do
for
it.
her.
Bring it on. No, actually, I
vouch for
don't. Oh, she does have a great voice. It may sound wonderful, but
I've got Grease 2. We got Grease 2 out of the way. What's one that you have on your list that
Can I go? Can I go?
Go ahead, Ashburn. No, you're in.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now.
You ruined the show. I mean, you're on the show anyway.
Well, you can kiss my Cuban ass. Number one. Number two is Gremlins 2. Okay, Gremlins Part 2.
This is a good one.
This is not even like the first one was actually a scary movie. Okay, it was actually slightly concerned. You didn't want to wet anything that was fuzzy for a while. And then comes Part 2, and they noveltize it to such an extreme. They make it so ridiculously commercialized
right now.
You know what I mean? They made it commercialized, man. And it was they had Domino's Pizza in that son of a gun. They had they had everything, man. They had a girl one, they had a dude that was a biker one, they had the lightning one, they had all the different ones. It was terrible. It wasn't even scary anymore. It was a joke.
Yeah. Product placement. So for product placement, you hated Gremlins 2. And commercialization, right?
Yep.
And then you used it, and you made up another word too.
It was too funny. They were trying to be funny.
I just
the noveltization.
Yeah, I was going to say
the novelty of it all, man.
Just looked it up in the dictionary. It's not in there.
I can't feel my legs.
Just putting some words together.
I can't feel my arm. God damn it, Peter.
I mean, I'm getting nervous.
Through all that, I do agree with him though. Gremlins is a really good movie, and Gremlins 2 is terrible. So that is, I didn't even think of that one. So that's a good one. That's actually a really good one.
What about you, Ken, man?
I mean, I got a lot of them here. I'm trying to think of I'll just stay at my absolute worst one for me, because I absolutely loved Nightmare on Elm Street. That was one of my favorite horror movies. It had everything I like in horror movies. I was jumping. It was suspenseful. There was a lot of gore. Awesome. Part 2 sucked. I mean, part 2 is absolutely terrible. It's definitely the worst sequel to any horror movie, and it very well may be one of the worst sequels to any movie. Certainly it is for me. No doubt. I mean, the story is terrible from what they tried to do from the first movie, and to kind of they pulled nothing from it. They actually did a little better job in 3. They came back a little stronger actually in Dream Warriors.
Dream Warriors is my favorite sequel.
You can't sit through 2. It's just an absolutely terrible movie where you can't get your eyes off the screen watching that first movie. It's just a great movie. In the pool? Oh yes, the pool.
The whole movie is like a Billy Squier video.
Like a Billy Squier video. Nice.
Pretty hot.
It's really bad. It's really bad. It's poorly directed. It's terrible. The cinematography isn't even and you didn't need to be much in the first one. You just had to do enough to get the right scene at the right time with the right soundtrack. That's what really helps a lot in these horror movies. And of course, to have a killer, like Freddy was great, coming from watching all the Jason movies, so which brings us to the Friday the 13th sequels. What do you say, Bob?
I've got to say right off the bat, and I have this note in front of me that I wrote down, that I left off 4 franchises for the simple fact that they have way too many shitty sequels. There's just too many. Everything after the originals,
right?
So, in my opinion, everything after Friday the 13th Part 2, which in my opinion was actually the best, so that's why I didn't include it. But everything after 2 was just garbage. I didn't include Friday the 13th. I didn't include Amityville Horror after the original. I didn't include Halloween after the original. And I didn't include Texas Chainsaw after the original because there's just too many sequels that are just gone off the freaking rails. And when it comes to the horror films, people really, really try to do their best to sort of make franchises out of and stuff like that. And the one that I'm about to talk about, as you can see from my shirt, is definitely, in my opinion, in the horror franchise. And this particular movie was a freaking horrible movie. They really, really, really went as hard as they possibly could and selling it. And like Dr. Brian's saying, I think it did audibly growl in this one when it poked its head out of the water. And I think Brian and I actually looked at each other and was like, really? Like, we saw this movie together for sure multiple times because it's so shitty. But really what they tried to do is they tried to bank on the 3D effect of getting the viewer to get in there. Yeah. So here's what they came up with.
That's when he was growling.
Careful. And then here you go.
Oh my God, whose arm is I lost my arm.
Yeah, so you got that thing that it was just gonna, and they had sort of like the jump scares throughout the entire one. But I think the whole thing is based on Dennis Quaid and that blonde chick working at SeaWorld or something like that, and obviously the shark is just always angry, so it comes back looking for.
Can I go ahead and just throw out there that how about anything in 3D is a bad anything in 3D.
Yeah, even modern 3D. Well, modern 3D is okay, but the red and blue, which is what this was, I believe, is actually horrible. Yes, Dirty Dave, what's going on? Thanks for joining us again. Jaws 2 did make the list only mentally because, like I said, I there was just something about the original Jaws sparked a massive fascination with sharks. I'd like to think I know quite a bit about sharks, and it was because of this movie, the terror that it caused me. I still really won't go in the ocean. And it's hard for me to even get in big pools. If I'm being honest,
shower often, honestly.
The scenes of the from the shark's view in the water of the dangling feet. You know, he gets nervous when he gets moist. I mean, you just see how vulnerable you are at that point to a beast under the water when you just have dangling feet. You have no chance. So no chance. No, I'm kind of the same, man. If I can't see the bottom, I don't know.
You would think with a vehicle with Dennis Quaid and Lou Gossett Jr. would do a little bit better, but they signed on, they cashed in, and that's pretty much.
It was terrible. It was all terrible. 2 is terrible. 3 is terrible.
But also the thing that was terrifying about Jaws was the movie poster. And they had the swimmer, the size of the swimmer was so tiny compared to the size of the shark, which made it look like a megalodon. And, you know, as a kid, you know, who was just learning how to swim, I mean, I did not realize that Jaws existed at the bottom of every swimming pool.
Oh yeah, he's there for sure.
No doubt. If you can't see the bottom, if you can see the bottom, you're okay. It's just, I can't see the bottom.
Well, as soon as
That
you stop
bottom
looking,
girls make the rock and roll go round.
They do indeed. They do. That's true.
Especially in Mom's pool.
Especially in my pool. Yeah, that was. I've got one for you. That's a little weird. That's a little weird, but I'm gonna throw my niche out there. This one pissed me off.
Bro.
This one pissed
you know what, dude?
off.
Let me tell you, the first one was one of those little cult classic movies. You know what I mean? And I saw the first one, you know. But this guy, dude, look at the Italian
movie with that guy.
No.
Go back to the handles.
Here's what happened. They decided at the very beginning of this, they for some reason they felt like these two Irishmen who were just, killing people that were assholes throughout the entire first movie, eventually met their dad, just a beautiful sequences, all kinds of wonderful shit. But for some reason, the sequel, they decided to start it off in like a Mexican prison. And they decided to add, I forget this actor's name, who's, by the way, a kick-ass actor, dude, and actually did a decent job in this shitty role in this particular sequel. But fans of the first one, I mean, we waited years for a sequel, and that's what they handed us. For the love of God, man. The same thing, real quick, I got to give an honorable mention to a couple. Hot Tub Time Machine 2.
Oh, terrible.
Pissed me off, man. Pissed me off.
The first
just
one was
as
that good, man.
Horrible Bosses 2 pissed me off as well. All right. Those are two amazing franchises. Number one on both of them, Horrible Bosses and Hot Tub Time Machine. Amazing. Those sequels pissed me off. So those are a couple of mine. How about you, Ken, man?
Well, then they're not amazing franchises. They're just amazing original movies.
Movies, yes. amazing attempts.
Well, I'm going to go back a little bit just for a second because I'm going to defend my Friday the 13th chapters 1 through 4. I feel like chapter 4, final chapter, I really liked it. I loved 1 through 4. I think anything after 4 is absolutely terrible. While I agree, 2 is probably the best. I would still say that they were able to take that story, those next couple of shows, 3 and 4, to kind of tie that off. I think it should have been done after 4, for sure. Never saw the hooligan movie you were talking about. As far as Hot Tub Time Machine and Horrible Bosses, 100% agree. Those sequels were absolutely terrible. But yeah, the next one that I was going to mention was going to be Rocky going to a franchise. And that Rocky, obviously one of the greatest movies, but man, Rocky 2, terrible movie. I mean, it's just it's not realistic what's going on in some of it, which at a time where you want to at least expect some realism from seeing that guy become a champ the way he did.
Well, it's not as real as Rocky 3.
Well, Rocky 3 it gets even worse. But that's what I'm saying. It gets to be so jokey. It doesn't get to really just be like a success story. I don't feel like that movie was really a movie that should have had any sequels made to whatsoever. It could have just been a cult classic as the original Rocky, that's that. Everything after that was just cash out.
That was all just a big cash grab for Stallone, for sure.
Rambo,
just like Rambo, Just
there you go. You and Dr. Brian said it at the same time. Rambo 3. Rambo 1 and 2 are, again, not bad. 2's not bad. 3 is horrible.
No, 3 is ridiculous.
Horrible.
Right.
Like,
I'll tell you, the most recent Rambo was actually pretty good.
Really?
Super violent.
They made a recent Rambo?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
It's actually pretty decent, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Super gory, man. Like, just evil gory.
It's like his son or something? I mean,
no, it's him.
Oh, yeah.
He's still Rambo, man.
Huh?
As someone who grew up in a Sicilian household, I have to respectfully decline and go against what you just said about our beloved Rocky Balboa. Besides the fact that it was from Philadelphia, which fucking F the Eagles. Really, the situation for me is I love all of those movies including Rocky Balboa, the standalone that he sort of did afterwards. Every single Rocky movie in the franchise I loved. Granted, I was very young, like you were, when we saw the first 3 or 4. And I think the pinnacle.
Yeah, but you've gone back and watched some of that, I'm sure, no? Because I've seen them since. Like, I watched Rocky again, and it's great. And Rocky 2, and I'm like, God, this is a terrible, terrible. Who goes 15 rounds and then getting his butt kicked and then wins? I mean, come on, man. Like, that was such a terrible movie.
That set up the sort of invincibility of him, especially, Drago, for all intents and purposes, should have murdered that guy. But I think that's what I'm trying to say. That sort of set the precedent. Like, every movie you see is just going to be some hint of him
more and more
trying to overcome adversity, but he's never going to lose to it, dude.
They should make a Rocky movie starring Mike Tyson as the opponent.
Mike Tyson is the opponent. Well, I mean, look, even if it's like a punch-out thing, when you're like this little green guy and you're fighting these monsters, to one point or another. Brandy makes a good point with the Blair Witch ones. Absolutely. Totally agree with that. Blair Witch was good, but a lot of those sequels are so bad. And Poltergeist, as Dr. Brian mentions, too. It's another good one. Poltergeist, a great movie. Poltergeist 2, terrible. 3, garbage. All of it's garbage.
It's funny. I didn't know they had. I just feel like it's always like that with the horror movies. Like Candyman was the same way. Like,
right, that's another good one. Candyman was a good one.
2 was terrible.
Yeah.
I got one for you guys.
Well, let's get off the horror movies. Let's find some other ones. Then.
How about this one?
Come on, what you got?
It may be not. It's definitely not a horror movie, but it was a horrific movie.
Oh my God!
Dumb and Dumberer, When Harry Met Lloyd. Now, granted, the casting was not horrible.
Isn't that a prequel?
No. Don't fuck with Next Friday either, man. They did a great job, man.
No.
But yeah, I don't think they needed to do this. And I think this is what happened. It was one of those things where we had waited so long for the possibility of a sequel to Dumb and Dumber that they threw this out there. And then finally later they came out with Dumb and Dumber 2, TOO, I think, right? Is that what the name of that one? Which was pretty decent. Wasn't, it's just really hard sometimes, as we're discussing, to capture the magic of the first one, especially when you try hard to replicate the first one. It's almost always a recipe for failure. And I think they missed the mark on this one. It's just one in a line of 2 sequels, but still, you know what I mean? Hell yeah, man.
Whoa.
So I don't know.
That guy, dude.
That guy's got a good look.
Make it easy. He does have a
strong mullet, couple of nice weapons. I mean, it's a good look he's got.
Yeah, I was watching that movie like.
Hey, the first one was all right, and the second one was poopins.
Yeah, pretty much. Seems to be. Well, then
track one
comedies. Some more comedies. Then how about some? Tammy just mentioned Hangover 2. Terrible. Hangover is a great movie. Hangover 2 is just the same story, different place, super predictable and not funny. I mean that it just lacked all of the surprises and the fun.
Is that the Tiger one?
Movie. Well, that's the first one, is the one in Vegas. And then the second one, they go to Thailand
Bangkok?
or some crap. Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Thailand.
Bangkok, Thailand. Yeah. Same place, cities, country, whatever it is. But yeah, and that is a terrible movie. Another, just sticking with comedies, I actually got 2 more that I think really are great originals and terrible movies. Caddyshack 2. Caddyshack.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, for those that understand the classic movies, come on. Caddyshack is right there with classic comedy. And Caddyshack 2 is horrible, unwatchable, and not at all funny. So completely different movies. And then my other one would be Clerks. And that's from Dr. Brian, actually. That was a good one. Clerks is a
you don't like
movie.
the second one?
Clerks 2 is not terrible, but it doesn't, if you want to try to compare it to Clerks, I mean, Clerks is a fantastic movie. It's almost iconic. And
it is iconic.
Clerks 2,
it is.
Just doesn't meet the mark. There's laughs in Clerks 2 for sure, but not at all.
Yeah, it was also more colorful too.
Well, yeah, because it was
it was definitely it was a little more. Well, no, I even mean the framing. Like they purposely made things pop even more so. Like
right, like
really
almost like they wanted to go the other way from what
cartoonish. Yeah. I don't know. I guess
I love Clerks, man. That's one of my all-time favorite movies. Is Clerks.
Yeah.
So Clerks 2 is just. I wish it would be better. Maybe I was expecting too much, but I laughed during the movie. But I'm not gonna say there was no laughs to it, but it was just didn't hit the mark. Not the same way, at least.
Okay. All right. Well,
so there you go. There's my comedies, man. I think you just about bam. That's it.
I've got a supposed comedy.
I think we said Nerds already. Nerds 2 is terrible. So yeah, I got the comedy.
How about this turd fest?
What you got? Still Waiting. What is this? I don't know what
exactly.
This is.
Have you never seen Waiting with?
I like the Tatas shirt.
You've never seen Waiting, the original one with Ryan Reynolds?
No.
Oh my God, man.
No.
Yeah, it is an absolute must-watch movie for anyone who does not tip and believes that restaurant workers are inferior. You need to watch this. It is the quintessential restaurant movie. So if you
do tip and you like restaurant workers, do you
then
not
still watch
the
it? Still watch it.
Okay.
Then you can tell a friend that doesn't tip that you're an asshole.
You need to watch this movie to show why you're an asshole. Is that how?
And while we're still talking about Ryan Reynolds, this follow up to an amazingly hilarious movie was a turd fest.
Oh, I agree. We talked about this one before.
Oh
Dr.
my
Brian
God!
and I. Absolutely horrible. I don't even know where all this came from.
Look, we had the benefit of Miss Cohan being in there, which pretty all right, right? You would think
that makes the movie a little better for sure.
Lauren Cohan from what was the zombie shit?
But what about the Harold and Kumar?
Oh, Harold and Kumar, that's a good one.
Guantanamo Bay, but I think I don't know, man. I think maybe it was certainly not as funny in any way, but at the same time, I just think that was just I don't know. That shouldn't have been fucked with either. Yeah, you shouldn't mess with that one.
That's another one, right? You don't. There's
no sequel to Superbad for a reason. There's no sequel to Pineapple Express for a reason. Like there's just not.
You don't
some
make
of those
a sequel
movies
to that movie. You know that shouldn't have been. Yeah, that shouldn't have been made. What happened to Hashbrown? He left us. He was done. He was like, "You weren't letting me talk enough." He's very sensitive. It's okay. He'll be all right.
He'll be all right, man.
Yeah, he's a good dude. So yeah, man. We also were seeing. I was looking. I did jump onto the Google for a moment and see what they were talking about with some of these sequels. And Teen Wolf 2, TOO. They do that Teen Wolf 2. Like that was with, Bateman, right? I think.
I love everything Bateman has ever done, but that.
But that, right? I mean, because that's a
who hates Bateman?
That's a Michael J. Fox movie. You know, that's like how could all of a sudden it go to that? You know. But yeah.
I don't. Dirty Dave said House of 1,000 was decent for a decent start for Rob Zombie. Everything after that was pretty bad. I honestly, man, let me say something about that movie. That movie was one of the first movies that I saw. And it had been decades that I saw that actually was kind of fucked up to me. That actually, like Dr. Satan, like all the underground and the drilling and like that shit really irked me. So I give Zombie massive credit. I love his Halloween remakes. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've seen the third one, but I saw the second one and I thought that was pretty cool. But it started getting a little too much. I think it started getting a little too dialogue heavy and started to feeling itself a little bit too much. So I know what you're saying, but I definitely love the first one. That's one of my all-time favorite horror films for sure.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's scary as fuck. Yeah, I scream like that too.
That's kind of frightening, as if you're almost a little scared.
It looks like Hash Brown dropped into the fryer back there. I have no idea what the hell happened to him.
It happens. I mean,
he's back here trying to get back in, but he's just throwing up advertisements for V-Split, and we can't have that all the time.
Why? Why does he have to be advertising for people? He's trying to make money everywhere he can. It's understandable.
Who else do I have? I think I might have had another one on my list here that I didn't pop up. I think you mentioned that actually. You know what? Wall Street 2.
Oh yeah, you were talking about that one. I never saw that second. I didn't even know they made that, to be honest. So
they did.
It was terrible.
With Shia LaBeouf as the guy who's dating Michael Douglas's daughter, and it was just I don't know. It wasn't. It sucked. It fucking sucked.
All right.
It's bad.
Hey,
Hash Brown, are you there?
He's trying.
That's a shame, man. It sucks, man.
Oh,
I know the problem is.
You now hold this smoke. That's what it is.
That's what it is.
That's exactly what it is.
So Grown Ups 2 and Problem Child 2. There's two more that are just terrible second movies too. I guess decent.
I wasn't really
movies.
a fan of either of them. The first
I really
one.
wasn't, to be honest, either. But I'm just reading off of silly lists. From
go ahead and throw some out there from the internet. Yeah, throw some out there from the internet.
That's what I'm doing. This is Rotten Tomatoes list that
give us
they
some
have.
mainstream.
They've got
ones.
some movies I've never even heard of before, but some that we've mentioned. With Karate Kid, they go to the next Karate Kid. Is there?
I love Hilary Swank. You can't fuck with her. You can't fuck with Hilary Swank. I love her, dude.
Sequels are bad.
Oh,
2, 3.
what of Karate Kid?
Yes,
No,
they're
2's
all-
good.
You can't
Dr.
say
Brian doesn't
that.
like
You can't
sequels,
say that
and
like
I don't know
you can't.
about that.
You can't say a kind of bad movie that had a sequel was a kind of bad sequel. You know what I mean? Like they're all kind of bad.
I don't know. I love Karate Kid. I dig it. I dig the Karate Kid, man. But yeah, I think it's just like 1 and 2 and whatever. They go to Okinawa. That's cool. But I guess after that, it is what it is. Son of Mask. I didn't even know they did that. Son of the Mask. Basic Instinct 2. RoboCop. That's actually RoboCop 3 is the one that's listed as a terrible one now.
And 2.
Hey, you got that, dude.
It's Jay's.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
I love it. Leprechaun 2, Troll 2. Aren't they the same thing? I mean, I don't think I saw.
For the love of God, dude,
Leprechaun 2 and Troll 2. I've never
mad?
seen either one.
Who's angry that Leprechaun 2 wasn't as good as the first one?
I don't know. I'm going to go to their top 10. Here's their top 10. Jaws: The Revenge. All right, that's 10.
It's pretty shitty, too.
Daddy Day Camp. Atlas Shrugged. Who is John Galt? I don't know what the hell that is. The Gallows Act. The Ring 2. I didn't even know they made a Ring 2. The Ring was great. I didn't know they made it. It must be terrible. It's number 6 on their list as a terrible sequel. So I guess I want to see that. Return of the Living Dead Part 2.
No.
Yeah.
Actually, no. Hold on. Return of the Living Dead was good.
Yeah, Return of the Living Dead is good. I don't know if I saw Part 2, to be honest, so I couldn't say. Police Academy 4, Citizens on Patrol. I know, that's true. I agree with Dr. Brian. A lot of the sequels of Police Academy were pretty bad. So, but then again, even the first movie.
Do we have anything on the burner phone? Anybody send in anything from burner phone?
I don't know. The battery died.
I thought someone said something about Back to the Future 2. Someone texted me that they sent a message on the burner phone that Back to the Future 2 was on there.
Back to the. Oh yes, no, you're right. There we go. Hold on, I got it back up again. Back to the Future 2. Yes. Yeah.
Which sort of makes sense because we didn't have our guy. We didn't have the real McFly father in there. It was somebody else. And That was I don't know if I sent it. I thought I sent that information, but
that makes me want to fight someone.
I don't know. I thought 2 was okay.
Super Babies makes me want to fight someone.
Super Babies is the number 1 worst sequel. Super Babies, Baby Geniuses Part 2. I don't think I ever saw any Super Babies.
That makes me want to punch that poster.
All right.
Don't be a poster puncher, dude.
Dr. Brian is angry with Super Babies. So this is what the terrible sequels are. We've gone through horror movies. We've gone through some comedies. There's not a lot of dramas. How about action stuff? We didn't say a lot about the Die Hard series or any of these guys. Are all those sequels good? Wasn't a lot of action movies in there. Terminator series. What about those things? We didn't really get into a lot of. Most everything was horror and comedy. It's like pretty much the worst sequels.
Die Harder.
It was okay.
I don't know. I think those sequels were all pretty decent. I think he
action
loved
movies
them so much.
Yeah, Lethal
Weapons. Those were great. Those were fucking great. Even the ones that they Always Sunny in Philadelphia made were great.
Right. Right.
Their sequels are amazing. Baby Ho.
I'm just saying. I mean, also Godfather. I mean, if you want to go to one of the greatest, 2 probably one of the best sequels ever made, but 3 is unwatchable. So if you want to really jump into a drama there like that, boom.
How about this?
Godfather 3, terrible.
Have you ever?
How about Red Dawn? Did they remake Red Dawn? Actually, that's different than a sequel, so never mind. But the remake is stupid.
Have you ever seen the movie Extract with Jason Bateman and Mila Kunis?
Never, but you see every Jason Bateman movie, so
I've seen them all. Yeah, I've seen them.
I know you.
Every one of them. This one This one was made by Mike Judge, and for all intents and purposes, it is the sequel to Office Space.
Oh,
But it's not. It has none of the characters in it other than like Judge showing up.
Us, all of us.
It's just it's apparently the movie they wanted to make, but for some reason they couldn't make it with those characters. But it's actually pretty funny. You might want to check it out.
All right. No, that'll be one.
Jason Bateman runs an extract company, and
ah.
Hilarity ensues, my friend. Hilarity ensues.
I would hope so if it's a comedy.
Are there any other sequels that you think make the turd list other than the ones that we?
Dude,
okay.
What are you doing to that guy? Please leave him.
I saw him pop in here, and I'll never do that again. Any other ones that make the list? I know Speed 2. We said that. And
Dirty Dave is mentioning Jurassic Park sequels. I think that's that's notable. Jurassic Park's fantastic movie. Sequels are not so good.
Which one was bad? Which one was a bad movie?
Well, I mean, I feel like the first movie was actually a good movie. Like it was actually written well. There's a good story to it and all. And I think after that, it just kind of fell apart. There wasn't the surprise of anything because that really was amazing what they were able to do with dinosaurs in that movie, as far as dinosaur movies go. So I think after that, you just weren't as surprised maybe. And then the story to me fell off a little bit, I guess, versus seeing it the first time.
Well, historically, dinosaurs are very hard to tame. So those movies are very hard to make. So I get it.
In the porn industry, like Debbie Does Dallas Part 2 is really nowhere near as good as Part 1. I mean,
no,
right?
But the one that they did later, Debbie Does Philadelphia 4.
Oh,
she is like 62 at the time.
And that's awesome.
You're just kind of like go cat go,
right? Absolutely.
Time, you know what I mean? Like
watch the pro work.
Yeah, exactly.
That's classic stuff that needs to be noted as well. To just keep all genres involved here because we've kind of hit on everything.
You should see Debbie Does the Rest Home.
All right. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I guess we're going to retire. We're going to go hit up the rest home and see if anybody needs any muffins made. At this point, we're just going to go ahead and call it quits. But I think we covered a lot of really good sequels.
Yeah,
the ones that I think those are classic movies, man. The ones that we mentioned, they started off amazing. Even the Police Academy movies, dude. Those were like the first one was great, and then like I don't know, Bobcat made it all better eventually, and gave him sort of a spotlight, but. There's just so many. We grew up in the time of sequels, right. And so we had
everybody was cashing out.
Right now, it's the time of remakes of the sequels that we grew up watching,
or the originals that they somehow think they can make better, which makes little sense. I haven't seen a good one yet.
It doesn't work like that. You know what I mean?
Hasn't
yet. Anyway, it sucks that we have to go. I know.
Oh, come on.
We got to go, but it was awesome. Super thanks to Dr. Brian.
Thanks for coming here. Thank you.
Not only for coming and hanging out in the studio, but for making the intro. I hope in some way. Well, that was an abrupt audience,
right?
Stop.
Just like they just shut up and
it's
like
crazy.
Stop. Bob's talking.
Ask Dr. Brian if he's made my pseudo Slipknot songs. Anyway, we're gonna take off, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out with. We don't know what we're gonna talk about next week. We'll figure that out sometime between now and then.
Tune in. Check us out.
If you haven't done so. Check me out tomorrow night on my YouTube channel. I'm judging strains again. That's my third video. I've got to do a lot of them. Anyway, folks, love you so much. See you soon.